Hi. I haven't been able to get into my shop this week, so I don't really have anything to show you there, but let me show you something related to what I talked about last week. So this is the end of sucker rod, and I have this in various sizes left over from when I've used the rod part, and this part isn't usually as conducive to the same projects or whatever. Like the 7/8 rod that I'm making the pad out of, I don't need these ends and I'll have a bunch left. So there are things I can do with the end. I made this hammer out of the end, see? Now this is, I think, 1 inch. This is made out of 5/8. You've seen me use this hammer several times making leaves, and it does a nice job spreading out the leaf, and I use this end. I've made another hammer, not out of sucker rod, that I think will do leaves better, and I'll show you that sometime, hopefully pretty soon. But this is kind of a neat hammer in that it's made out of scrap metal, sucker rod, so that's recycled, if you will. And then the handle is from some Osage orange that is from a limb that got cut off or broke off, and a friend of mine gave me a chunk of that limb that he'd cured. That's let it dry enough that the wood is ready for use. And I made the handle out of a piece of that. So I was going to tell you about a story from Mark where Jesus heals someone, but I noticed another story in Matthew chapter 8, verse 28 that really caught my eye, and I thought I'd talk to you about it. It's actually from the lectionary. Today, I'm recording this on Saturday. You'll probably see it on Sunday. And in this story, Jesus has just crossed the Sea of Galilee to a region called the Gadarenes, or something close to that. There are a couple different names for it in the footnotes of the Bible I read. And he meets two men who live like in the graveyard, among the tombs or something, and they're extremely violent. And they're described as demon-possessed men, and they're so violent no one will go near them, but Jesus does. And they scream out, "Son of God, are you going to torture us before the appointed time?" And Jesus apparently is going to interact with these demon-possessed men. And so they say, "Well, cast us out into those pigs over there if you're going to do that." So Jesus does. And the pigs go mad and they run into the water and drown themselves. And the people who looked after the pigs, I guess they'd be pig herders, went into town and told the townspeople what had happened. And the townspeople came out, almost everybody, and asked Jesus to leave. So there are a couple really important things about this story, and I don't want you to get distracted by the demons. One question that comes up, well, do demons exist? I don't think we'd describe this story the same way if we saw it today, especially not, say, a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I don't think they'd describe the story the same way. But important things happened here, so don't get distracted by the demons. I've never met one, never seen a situation that I would call that. But there are situations where there's evil. And Jesus has come, and they say, before the appointed time. Well, if it weren't the appointed time, he couldn't do it. Remember, Jesus has come saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And by the end of this liturgical year, we'll be celebrating Jesus as King. He's come with authority. It is the appointed time. And he performs this miracle. You could call it healing, you can call it casting the demons out. And a side effect of that is the pigs. And here's the interesting thing. The townspeople come out and ask Jesus to leave. And he actually does. That's how this story more or less ends. He gets back in the boat and goes away. The kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, was right there. And it disrupted their lives, and they didn't like that. The kingdom of God disrupts lives. But my advice to you is let it disrupt yours. I try to let it disrupt mine because I want to live in the kingdom. And that's going to change things. And sometimes I may not like it, but I trust God that those things will be right. And when I've got the long perspective, I'll understand and appreciate that the kingdom of God was what it should be at the time it was. So, now is the appointed time. The time has come. The kingdom is at hand. And it's going to change your life if you let it. Let it. Let's talk again next week.